Bien chicos, ahora sí, entonces vamos a empezar. Voy a compartir el PPT. Listo. Entonces hoy día vamos a ver estos temitas. Primero que nada, cuáles son las ventajas de trabajar con el switcher de Tricaster en comparación con otros switchers. Vamos a empezar a conocer un poquito el equipo en sí. Vamos a empezar a ver lo que es creación y manejo de un proyecto. Y bueno, eso principalmente, ¿no? Esos tres temas. Este es un video donde se ve en físico, ¿no? El Tricaster. Van a ver que tiene una especie de CPU, de memoria donde está pues la tarjeta de video, el disco duro, eh, todo, todo lo que es los componentes del equipo. Y además que, bueno, el tablero y los monitores para poder operar, ¿no? Vamos a ver rápidamente este video. Bueno, Newtek que fabrica el modelo del equipo que es el Tricaster. Algunas ventajas de trabajar con un switcher Tricaster. Permite cargar videos en diversos formatos. Permite crear títulos. Se puede hacer chroma key. Tiene una galería de más de 20 sets virtuales. Permite hacer streaming, o sea, transmisión en vivo por un canal web. Ahora, no todos los switchers permiten esto que sí se puede hacer con el Tricaster. Esta es la gran ventaja que tiene este equipo. Muchas veces hay switchers que necesitan una tituladora aparte, o un sistema una computadora para hacer croma aparte, u otra computadora para poder hacer streaming, ¿no? El Tricaster permite hacer todo esto. En ese sentido, pues es un equipo bastante completo. Este es un video que, acá hay algunos videos que les voy a poner que están en inglés, pero digamos, se logra entender bastante por el mismo video, por la explicación, la gráfica. Y en este caso es como una introducción al equipo, como ir empezando poco a poco a conocerlo, ¿no? Vamos a ver.
Hello everyone and welcome to this training video for the Tricaster 450 Portable Live Production System. The Tricaster allows you to create network-style video from anywhere and deliver it everywhere. Its small compact size makes it easy to set up and easy to use. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hardware associated with the 450. If you open the doors on the front of the machine, you'll see the power switch where you turn the machine on and off. There's a reset button as well as two USB connections. This is also where you'll find the removable drive bay. Now you can populate this drive bay with a standard SATA drive, and this will allow you to expand the storage available in your Tricaster. The back of the machine is where you make all of your audio-video connections, connect power, and connect any of the other external devices you're going to use with the Tricaster. Here you'll find the power connection, You'll also find your Ethernet connection, allowing you to connect to a network or to the internet. There are a variety of USB connections available. You also have a Genlock area, giving you a Genlock in and a loop through. Then we have our video connections for our monitors. There's a DVI connection and there's an HDMI connection. We do not use the DVI connection or the RGB connection located here. We only use the video connections on the video card for our monitors. Now next to that, we have an area for bringing our video signals in. And this Tricaster will allow you to bring in 4 live video signals. And this can be a combination of high definition or standard definition video inputs in a variety of formats. For high definition video, you can bring in SDI or component. If you want to work with standard definition video, you can bring in SDI, component, composite, or YC. There are also 2 video outputs, a standard program out, and an auxiliary video out, which is configurable. We'll talk about that once we get into the live production area. You also have an HDMI output, which will give you program out with audio. Then you have your audio inputs and a variety of audio outputs as well. You also have a headphone jack and a tally light connector, allowing you to connect to a third-party tally system. The Tricaster comes with a keyboard and a mouse that are connected via USB, and there are also some external optional control surfaces available, the 450CS as well as the 850TW, and these are both also connected via USB. If you're using a single interface monitor, you want to attach to the DVI port here, and you want to make sure that you're using a monitor that has a minimum resolution of 1440 by 900, but the actual recommended resolution would be 1920 by 1080. You also have the ability to attach a second interface monitor, and this monitor will be the multi-viewer. It's also configurable for a number of other uses, and when you're going to attach a second monitor, you'll use the HDMI output. Once we have all of the video connected and all of the external devices connected, along with the power, we're ready to go ahead and fire up the machine. Again, the power switch is located inside of the front door. Go ahead and turn it on, and the machine will bring us to the home page.
Bien, ese fue un video pues súper introductorio sobre el equipo en sí, sobre los conectores que utiliza, sobre dónde está el botón de encendido, cómo es que se puede insertar un disco duro para agregar la capacidad del disco. Y ahora vamos a ver lo que es la creación de un proyecto. Como les comenté, la clase pasada, cuando uno enciende el switcher Tricaster, uno tiene que ir al proyecto donde está grabando su programa. No todos los programas utilizan el mismo proyecto porque no todos tienen los mismos settings. No todos utilizan los mismos títulos, por ejemplo. No todos tienen los mismos videos, las mismas cuñas de entrada. Entonces, cada programa va a tener su proyecto. Y si vamos a utilizar el switcher por primera vez, no tenemos un proyecto creado, bueno, entonces hay que crear uno, ¿no? Entonces el primer paso es ponerle un nombre. El nombre de nuestro programa o el nombre con el cual queramos ubicar ese proyecto. Y luego habrá que especificar el sistema de video y la resolución que tendrá este proyecto, y esto dependerá del propósito del video. Como les comenté la vez pasada, un video grabado a más resolución es mejor si es que se ve en una pantalla grande. Si es que ustedes van a hacer un video que va a ir para la web, no tiene mucho sentido grabarlo en 1080, por ejemplo, porque lo más probable es que se emita por una laptop o un celular. Pero si es para ponerlo en un televisor grande, ahí sí será necesario, o transmitir por televisión, ahí sí será necesario hacer un proyecto en 1080. ¿Y por qué no es tan recomendable hacerlo si lo hacen para otro formato que es más pequeño? Porque si bien es cierto, en 1080 es más calidad, es más pesado. Entonces todo el proceso que hagan, el de exportación, el de edición, va a ser más pesado. Esto de repente creo que les enseñé la otra vez, pero les puedo volver a mostrar. Es la lista, por ejemplo, de los videos que tenemos, o teníamos, porque ya varía un poquito en el, en el switcher de la universidad. Este primero, que se llama Aún no decido, es un proyecto sobre un programa que se hizo en enero del 2020, antes de la pandemia justo. Y ese es un programa que se emitía todos los días por el canal web. Entonces, como es en vivo, tenía que ser en 1080x60 entrelazado. Ya saben que entrelazado y progresivo, lo que es transmisión en vivo es mejor entrelazado. Comentarios era unos comentarios que iban dentro de un noticiero que hacíamos, y como era grabado, no era necesario ponerlo en entrelazado, entonces era 60p. Y era en 720 porque era un formato para la web, entonces no era necesario hacerlo en un gran tamaño. Y bueno, como pueden ver el resto, cada uno tiene su especificación. Entonces, por ejemplo, si yo quería grabar o quería hacer el siguiente episodio, la siguiente grabación del programa Uno Decido, abría el proyecto de Uno Decido. Si quería grabar un nuevo programa de deportes en acción, por ejemplo, que es el cuarto programa que está acá, entonces abría el proyecto de deportes en acción. Si yo quería hacer uno nuevo, bueno, tenía que crearle un nombre y ese nombre se iba a añadir a la lista que ustedes están viendo, ¿no? O sea, no es que de pronto se abre el Tricaster y aparezca la interfase. Uno tiene que seleccionar en qué proyecto va a trabajar. Acá en este video se explica un poco lo que es la creación de un proyecto, así que vamos a ver.
Once on the home page, you'll see you have a menu ring with several options on it. Go to the Utilities option, and the very first thing you want to do is you want to register your Tricaster. The Tricaster needs to be registered from the very first day you use it. It will function, but it will produce a watermark on any of the outputs. To remove that watermark, you want to make sure that you register the Tricaster. Now, this can either be done online by connecting the Tricaster to an internet connection. It can also be done by calling NewTek customer service, and they'll walk you through the registration process. If there are updates available for the Tricaster, you can find them by using this option under the Utilities menu item. Update Tricaster will go out and look for any updates that are available and allow you to install them. You also have the ability to defragment your hard drives and restore to factory defaults. You only want to restore the Tricaster to its factory defaults if you've been told to do this, either by your reseller or by NewTek. Restoring the Tricaster to its factory defaults restores it to the base level of software that was on it when it came out of the factory. This removes any updates that have been applied. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you need to restore the Tricaster back to factory defaults, just remember, you're going to have to reapply any updates that have been applied since the first time you fired up and registered the machine. Next, we'll go to the Help menu item. And here's where you have access to all of the user guides that are available for all of the things that come with the Tricaster and some accessories that are available as well. The live production environment user guide is available here. This is a PDF which is searchable and printable. There's also some additional software that comes with your Tricaster. There's a full nonlinear editor called Speed Edit, and the user guide is available under Edit. And there's a full character generator called Live Text as well. Now, there are also user guides for all of the external control surfaces that are available for the Tricaster. You have access to the license agreement and the About box for the Tricaster, and user guides for some of the add-on software that's both available for the Tricaster and that comes with the Tricaster as well. Next, we'll look at the Add-Ons menu item, and this is where you have access to any of the add-on software that's available for the Tricaster. All Tricasters come with a demonstration version of the Virtual Set Editor. This will allow you to create virtual sets from scratch or modify pre-made virtual sets for use in the Tricaster. You can add logos, change out the backgrounds, and really customize your virtual environments to meet your needs. Now, you can do all of this with the demonstration version, but it will produce a watermark on any of the sets that are created. If you like what you see with the demonstration version and you want to buy the full version, please contact your reseller. Once you buy the full version and install it, the watermarks will be removed and you can start using the Virtual Set Editor. And again, the user guide for this product is available right here. Now let's take a look at setting up a new session. Let's go to the New item on our menu ring, and this is where you can create a new session in the Tricaster. A session will remember every attribute that you set up within the live production. And this allows you to set up different shows as sessions and then access them so that when you bring up that show, all your graphics are loaded, your titles, all of your inputs are set up, your virtual sets, every attribute of the session gets remembered. So you could have a session for a morning show, an afternoon show, and an evening show, or even for specific people. Especially in an educational environment, each student could have their own session and load up their own show, and all of the content they need for their production is there and ready to go. So when we're starting a new session, the first thing we do is we give the session a name. Now, if you don't give the session a name, it will default to that day's date. And if you have multiple sessions during one day that you don't give a name to, then it will be that date and it will become sequentially numbered. So it's easy to recognize your sessions. I recommend that you give each one a unique name. Simply click in the session name area and go ahead and type in a name. We're going to call this Tricaster Demo. You also have the ability to choose which drive you want to store the session information on. Now, if you're using a default Tricaster with no drive in the removable bay, the only option is going to be the D drive. That's the internal drive. If you install a drive into the removable drive bay, this will become the E drive. And then you can choose whether you want to store the session information either on the internal drive or on the external drive that you can remove and put up on the shelf. If you're using a multi-standard Tricaster, you can select what video standard you want to work with, NTSC, NTSC-J, or PAL. If you're using a standard Tricaster, NTSC will be the only option available. You then get to pick the session resolution, and you can pick 1080i or 1080p at multiple frame rates, 720p also at multiple frame rates, or standard definition at 4:3 or 16:9. The session resolution is going to be the resolution that is output from the primary program video out on the back of the Tricaster. There's also an auxiliary video output which is configurable, which could be the same resolution if you wanted it to be, or you can configure it to be different resolutions or different types of outputs. We'll look at that once we get into the live production interface. Now that we have all of these variables selected, we're ready to go ahead and start our session. When you start the session, it will bring you to the sessions page. I'm going to go ahead and back out of here. We're not ready to go all the way into our live production yet, but I wanted to show you how to actually start the new session. To get back to the home page, you can click on the big arrow here in the upper left-hand corner. Now you also have the ability to open a session that's already been saved, and you can see there's a variety of sessions over here that you can open. So again, every time you set up a session, it's going to get saved, and then you can launch any pre-made session at any time from the Tricaster. You can even back a session up and then restore a session that's been backed up to a hard drive to get a session from one Tricaster to another, or to store it and then bring it back for use in your Tricaster. Next, you have the Shutdown Menu option, and this allows you to restart your Tricaster, to shut the Tricaster all the way down and have it power off, or to exit to Windows. And if you do try to exit to Windows, you'll get a warning and you'll have to do an extra mouse click to get all the way out to Windows. The Tricaster should be viewed as an appliance, not as a computer. That's why we discourage you from going into Windows. Now, there are a few situations where you might need to go into Windows if you want to set up a domain for your network, if you want to be able to customize some streaming profiles and things along those lines. But again, there's just very few things you need to get to Windows for, and we don't want any extra software installed on a Tricaster. Again, it's an appliance, and if you install other software and use it for other purposes, that may impact the performance of the Tricaster. So keep the system completely clean and don't install any other software other than software that NewTek or your reseller tells you to install. Now, let's go to the Open menu item on our menu ring here, and let's go ahead and open up a session. Now, this will bring you to the Sessions page, and the Sessions page allows you to do a few things. First of all, let's go to Manage Media. From the Sessions page, you can import all the media that you want to use during a live production. Any media that you're going to use, whether it's video clips, stills, titles, audio clips, all need to be imported before the live session. This is done using the Import Media button, and this will launch the Import Media Requester. And again, this allows you to go out and search your computer. So if you have an external USB drive hooked up with your content, you can get to that. And I'm just going to navigate here to where my content is. And in this folder, I have 4 different file formats. I have an AVI, I have an Apple ProRes image, I have an H.264 high-def clip, and I have a MPEG-2 clip. Now, you can use all of these different file formats. I'm just going to select them all and open them. And as you look, you can see that some of them have been set up just to import. So my transcode button is ghosted and it's turned off. It knows it can play this file format right out of the box. The Apple ProRes file is not supported natively, so it's automatically set to transcode. Now the H.264 and the MPEG will play natively, but it leaves it open as an option. So if you should run into a file that's not playing back properly in the live production environment, you would be able to come back, re-import it, and transcode it, and then you would be assured that it's going to play back. So again, all your video clips, all your stills, external stills, titles, and audio should all be imported into your Tricaster session using this process. Once you've got all of the media lined up ready for import, simply hit the import button. Once all your files have been imported, you'll get a message telling you so, and you're ready to continue. Within the Sessions page, you also have a menu ring that has some other options, and you have the option of going to the nonlinear editor here, so this will take you to speed edit. You have the option of opening the included character generator live text, and you also have the option of going into your live production environment. Let's go ahead and start the live production environment. As the Tricaster fires up your session, it needs to configure itself. So you'll see it going through the process of configuring the inputs, and you'll see some things changing, and there's messages that can appear during this process. And once the Tricaster is completely initialized, the messages will disappear and you'll be ready to go.
Bueno, acá una de las cosas más importantes que quiero destacar que dijo este instructor es que cada vez que uno hace un proyecto, tiene que importar a ese proyecto todo lo que va a necesitar, todas sus utilidades. Por ejemplo, si uno va a hacer un noticiero, por ejemplo, y necesita las notas para ese noticiero, o sea, las noticias, bueno, hay que importarlas antes de hacer el noticiero. Si uno va a tener un par de invitados en el estudio y necesita ponerle los nombres, tienen que estar también los nombres ya listos para insertar cuando aparezcan en pantalla. Si uno va a poner fotos, esas fotos ya tienen que estar listas en el Tricaster. Es un poco como cuando uno edita. Uno tiene que subir el material que ha grabado, si le va a añadir fotos, las fotos, o sea, todo lo que va a utilizar. Porque una vez que, sobre todo si uno hace una producción en vivo, ya poner algo a última hora se puede hacer, pero ya se incomoda el trabajo, uno podría en una de esas cometer un error, y lo mejor es tener todo cargado al Tricaster desde antes. Y otra de las cosas que explicaba es que el Tricaster es muy amigable en el sentido de que se pueden cargar, no ofrece conflictos, no da conflictos cuando se cargan videos que están grabados en diferentes formatos. Muchas veces sucede que un sistema no reconoce ciertos códecs, por ejemplo, pero el Tricaster reconoce todo, ¿no? No recuerdo que haya habido alguna ocasión en la cual se haya tenido que cargar un video y el Tricaster no lo haya reconocido. En ese sentido, es un equipo bastante, que tiene mucha tolerancia, digamos, ¿no? O sea, puede aceptar videos grabados en distintos formatos. Esto es, maneja un proyecto, es una aplicación muy sencilla, la vamos a ver rápidamente, pero una vez que ya se abrió la interfase, bueno, cómo operarla, ¿no? Cómo es que está dividida. Acá tenemos el monitor de previo, por ejemplo, a la izquierda, y a la derecha el monitor de program. El program es el que sale al aire. Tenemos estos videos de acá, viene a ser el DDR, Digital Disc Recorder, que es donde están almacenados los videos que nosotros queremos poner. Y acá es donde llega la señal de las cámaras, en este caso conectada 1, 2, 3 cámaras. Entonces, vamos a ver.
In this video, we're going to try to learn how to use the Tricaster. The Tricaster is basically a video switcher. That's what it's called in the United States. In the UK, it's called a vision mixer. The Tricaster has gotten to be like the word Kleenex is for facial tissue. Some people just simply call it a Tricaster. We have two Tricasters. One is the one I'm on now, the 460, and the other one is a Tricaster Mini. They're about the same. There's just one small difference. If you look at the main capture screen here, you'll see that it is in three large sections. The top section is all images, the middle section is all buttons, and the bottom section is all players and just basically players. So our Tricaster is equipped with 8 inputs, 1, 2, 8. Right now they're set up for camera, 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 input 4, graphics. I'm showing the screen number 2, and I'm showing screen number 1, and I'm also showing a camera that has the vision or the desktop control surface. On the bottom are 4 players: DDR1, DDR2, Graphics 1, Graphics 2. The left bigger picture here is the preview picture. This is the picture that's going to happen next in our show. On the right is the program picture. That's the picture that the audience is seeing. The buttons in the middle, the program buttons, are on this row right here, and these let you select what goes out to the audience directly. So for example, I'm on camera 2. If I push camera 1, I select that button, it changes immediately. It changes the scene to whatever I want. The preview button down here, I can change that, and that changes what's going to happen on the preview. Over here is the take. There are 2 take buttons here. This will take the switch. So when it takes, when we do a take, the preview button and the program button switch places. So when I do a take, camera 2 will be illuminated on program, camera 3 will jump down to preview. So let me do a take on that. Off to the right are 4 keys: 1, 2, 3, and 4. At the bottom, DDR, DDR1, and you can have several different clips in the DDR bins, and you can play those. Here's one that has music on it. Oh, but I'm not. Let's take this. There we go. So these are video players. Basically, they play videos. On the right side is another video player. So over on this one, I have a simple, just a video loop, a graphic loop, but it's a video clip. Let's look at the 2 graphics bins. Graphics bins can have multiple clips. This particular clip is a solid blue clip. Its next door neighbor is a transparent clip. And you can tell the transparent because it has little checkerboards behind it. So part of it's transparent. I'll show you why we need that in a minute. Over on graphics 2, I've got just a simple graphics. And these can be any variety of things. They could be images, they could be whatever you like. Over here is a set of buffers, and the buffers are where you can store freeze frames. So you can grab a shot from your show and put it into a buffer to use it later. And that's basically the layout of the Tricaster. Next, I'm going to show you the multiple monitor, the second monitor that we have.
Bueno, esa ha sido una explicación muy rápida. Vamos a ir conociendo poco a poco diversos funcionamientos del equipo, pero en resumidas cuentas es lo que le dije en un comienzo, ¿no? En este lado de superior izquierdo es donde ya la señal de las cámaras. Esto de la derecha, los monitores más grandes son el previo y el récord, y aquí es donde están los DVRs. El buffer son como unos almacenadores. Cuando uno quiere guardar unas imágenes o un logo, por ejemplo, puede hacerlo en los buffers. Es como un espacio extra que les da el Tricaster para almacenar algún recurso que nosotros vayamos a necesitar después en la emisión de nuestro programa. Este es otro video explicativo, este está en castellano, vamos a verlo, donde se habla también de la interfase. Entonces, vamos a ver también, una cosa muy resumida sobre la interfase.
Chicos, el siguiente capítulo en el cual nos encontramos, vamos a ver cómo trabajar con el previo, con el programa y las transiciones, con nuestro Tricaster. Entonces, fíjense bien, vamos primero a traernos unos videos a nuestros reproductores que son el DDR1 y el DDR2. Con este signo de más, yo voy a traerme 3 videos con control del teclado. Voy a agregarlos al Tricaster. Al DDR2 me voy a traer otros, que va a ser este clip, y le voy a poner OK. Todos los clips vienen con audio, y el audio yo puedo, si yo no quisiera que el audio saliera al aire, pues yo puedo bajarles el nivel que tienen. Cada uno tiene la opción de podérselo bajar, ¿sale? Entonces, creo que no trae audio, entonces no nos da la opción. En el reproductor de video yo voy a poner el loop para que cuando inicie el video, cuando termine el video, vuelva a empezar y no se nos ponga en stop. Recuerden que el autoplay nos va a dar la reproducción de 1 por 1, ¿sale? Entonces, yo lo primero que voy a hacer es, voy a poner en previo mi DDR. Ahí está. Y voy a elegir el video que quiero que salga al aire. Cuando yo le dé play, se va a poner en toda la pantalla cómo se está viendo al aire. Entonces le voy a dar, tengo 3 opciones para mandar el previo, que es el DDR1, cómo mandarlo al aire. Es decir, ponerlo en esta pantalla y que se vea todo completo. Es con take, que es corte directo, con auto, que es transición, o con la palanca. Ahí está. Entonces, yo lo que voy a hacer es, primero voy a poner en previo el DDR1, lo voy a poner al aire, y luego voy a poner en previo el DDR2 para hacer una transición. Ahí está. Yo hice una disolvencia, ¿sí? Entonces, lo que voy a hacer es, en este momento, cambiar la disolvencia, y en lugar de que sea una disolvencia, voy a agregar estas cuadrículas que están aquí. Entonces le voy a dar auto, me voy a regresar, pero puedo agregar transiciones que ya trae Tricaster. Por ejemplo, las que nosotros usamos son las que dicen broadcast. Esta a mí me gusta mucho, pero ya la tengo cargada. Vamos a cargar otra. Vamos a cargar esta que está aquí. Y cuando yo le dé auto, esa es nuestra transición. Pero si se fijan, no está reproduciendo mi DDR. Le voy a dar auto y ahí está reproduciendo. Me regreso y ya tengo mi interfase. Entonces, recapitulemos. Program siempre va a ser al aire. ¿Qué quiere decir? Cámara 1, 2, 3, 4 al aire. O mi conexión a una red local 1 y 2. O mis reproductores de video o mis efectos especiales. También pueden ser los Mix Effects 1, 2, 3 y 4, que veremos en un capítulo que sigue. Por lo pronto, recordemos que tenemos 2 reproductores de video. Con el signo de más agregamos los videos. Play, loop, stop, y el autoplay nos va a servir siempre. ¿Para qué? Para que cuando nosotros pongamos auto o take en una transición, se reproduzcan automáticamente. Fíjense, yo no le di play, se reprodujo automáticamente. El siguiente, no le di play, se reprodujo automáticamente. Y tiene esa gran función, pero también tiene que cuando le doy play, puede seguir reproduciendo todos los videos hasta que se acaben y brincar de uno en uno, y si no es lo que yo quiero que salga al aire, pues me puede meter en problemas. Chicos, Para cambiar la transición, únicamente recuerden agregar este signo de más y tenemos más transiciones por aquí, pero pues esas no están tan lindas como las que tenemos de este lado. Entonces, pues podemos utilizar la que nosotros querramos. Vamos a dejar hasta aquí este video. Espero que les sea de mucha utilidad. Hasta luego.
Bueno, aquí lo que más quiero rescatar de este video es que la explicación que ha dado sobre la diferencia entre program y previo. Program es el monitor de acá de la derecha, es lo que está saliendo en vivo. Y esto de acá donde dice PGM es program y está en rojo porque el rojo es lo que está en vivo. Y el previo es lo que está en verde. En este caso de DDR2 porque hay videos en DDR2. Y como ven acá dice previo y está en verde. Mucho se trabaja en televisión con previo. ¿Por qué? Porque el director siempre necesita visualizar y ver bien qué es lo que va a poner al aire. Porque una vez que lo pone al aire ya no hay retroceso, ya salió al aire. Si en una de esas se equivoca y aprieta un botón que está en negro, por ejemplo, el negro va a salir al aire. Entonces, el previo es como una opción de seguridad para que el director tenga la certeza de que aquello que va a poner en vivo está bien y no se corre el riesgo pues, de cometer un error. Este es el tablero de control. El Tricaster podría funcionar, como hemos visto en el video anterior, sin un tablero de control. Por ejemplo, hay una palanquita virtual. El botón de take también es virtual. Entonces, se pueden reproducir los videos de manera virtual. Pero muchas veces es preferible tener un tablero porque es más cómodo. Hay menos posibilidad de error. Acá, bueno, la anotación que he puesto, por ejemplo, es, aunque el switcher se puede manejar con el mouse, es más cómodo y seguro hacerlo con el tablero de control. Con este tablero se pueden seleccionar las cámaras, mover o agrandar títulos, manejar los videos de las DDRs y grabar. En el switcher que tenemos en la universidad, tiene pues el tablero, ¿no? Es más profesional, es mejor utilizar un tablero. Cuesta más, pero da mejores resultados. Y este es una brevísima explicación sobre lo que es el manejo del tablero.
The control surface looks like this. And there's a variety of different control surfaces that attach to the Tricaster. This is a relatively small control surface. If we were doing a sports game, the control surface will be 5 or 6, 7 times bigger than this. Basically, it has the preview bus down here on the bottom. It's got the program bus here in the middle. It's got media player controls here. Over here, it has some delegation for what the T-bar does. It has take and it has auto. There's a fade to black button over here. I don't use this very much because I don't like the way it works on the Tricaster. The top section right here, all of this section right here, deals with what's called mix effects and a utility bus. The utility bus isn't really used very much at all on our switcher. Mix effects is used somewhat. This set of buttons here delegates which function gets so if you're going to push some buttons here for the mix effects, it decides which mix effects are applied to. This is for some live set functions, and these are positioners. Basically, this part of the switcher, the top here, the middle here, and the top over here, it's not really used very much. In the actual production, the director might say, ready camera 1, and the technical director would push camera 1 on the preview bus. Then the director would say, take camera 1, and the technical director would hit the take button, and these two would switch places. The take happens. It jumps from whatever's on preview, take preview camera 3, take 3, ready camera 2, take 2, and the director usually says ready and then take. Ready camera 1, take 1, ready 2, take 2, or the director can simply call for it to be taken directly, take 2, without any ready. The director can also say dissolve to 2, in which case the technical director hits the auto button and we get a dissolve. If you want a slow dissolve, then you use the fader bar or the T bar and you just do a slow dissolve by pulling it down from one to the other. Over here, this takes the downstream key number 1, it fades the downstream key number 1, take downstream key number 2, and fade downstream key number 2. We'll learn what keys are in just a minute. In the next video, we'll learn what mix effects are.
Bien, esa fue una breve explicación sobre lo que es el manejo del tablero. Y este es un video explicativo sobre el manejo de la interfase. Vamos, que es más o menos como una revisión de todo lo que ya hemos visto. Vamos a verlo.
The main interface of the Tricaster is your control room for your live production system. It allows you to control every attribute of the Tricaster. Let's go ahead and take a look at how it's laid out. The interface is broken into 3 sections: the monitoring section here along the top, the live switching section here in the center, and along the bottom you have a modular tab-based interface allowing you to access the internal power of the Tricaster. The monitoring section here along the top can be modified a few different ways. First of all, this monitor area is completely scalable, and you'll notice that if you put the cursor over the dividing line between the preview monitor and all of the individual input monitors, it turns into a left and right arrow, and if you left click and drag, you do have the ability to scale the interface this way. So you can set it up the way that you're comfortable with it. Now, if you want to get back to default, simply double click on that line and it will reset to its default position. You can also scale the interface top to bottom by grabbing the line in between the bottom of the monitoring section and the live switching section. And again, you can scale this up to remove the monitors, or you can bring it down, make the monitors much larger. Again, double clicking on that line will reset it to its factory default. The monitor area shows us the 4 incoming live signals. We have our 2 network inputs that allow us to bring in the displays of external computers or bring in Apple AirPlay devices. There are 2 digital disc recorders, or DDRs, and we have a monitor for our graphics player to show us what's currently loaded in that player, as well as a large preview monitor and a program out monitor showing us what's actually going out live. Now, you do have the ability to change this portion of the interface using the tabs along the top, and you can set it up to look at just the 4 external sources coming in, the 6 internal sources available, the DDRs, the network inputs, the graphics player, and the frame buffer. You also have a waveform monitor and vector scope available. And again, remember that you can scale the interface. And over here you have the ability to choose what you want the scope to be looking at, either preview, program, or what's happening on the effects row. So you could use the scope on the effects row and make modifications to signals that are not going out live, even during a live production. Now again, to get back to our factory default, remember, just double click on the line. You also have the ability to attach a second monitor for the interface, and this second monitor can actually be configured a number of ways. Now remember, the second multi-view monitor is going to be attached to the HDMI output above the DVI output on the video card on the back of the Tricaster 450. The multi-viewer can be set up in a number of configurations, and the first configuration we're looking at is the all configuration. This shows us all of the external video feeds coming in, the internal video sources available in the switcher, a large preview and program output, and the production clocks in the lower right-hand corner. We can also configure this in a number of ways. We're going to click on the small gear in the upper right-hand corner of our Program Out window, and then click on the Multi-View tab. I have a pop-up right here that allows you to select what you want to configure the multi-viewer for. And again, we can set it up to view just the external cameras coming in. Again, you get larger preview monitors when you do that. It can also be set up to show just the internal sources available in the Tricaster. It can also be a program output. So now you have another program out in another format that could be used to feed a projector or something along those lines. You can also make it a hardware preview monitor. If you wanted to have a preview monitor outside of the TriCaster, this is one way of accomplishing that. You can send the effects row out that secondary monitor. Here on the control surface, you have the ability to turn the utility row into the effects row. This means you can now do a cuts-only switch on the effects row, and this is separate from the switch that's happening on program out. This means you can have two separate video feeds out of one TriCaster. This is perfect for feeding side screens during a live production, or if you need multiple outputs, say one to go to broadcast and one to feed the displays inside of an arena. You also have the ability to do preview and program side by side with production clocks on the multi-viewer, as well as a large waveform monitor and vector scope. One of the most important things during a live production is time. You always need to keep an eye on the time, and it's great to know when your production is going to start and, once the production starts, when it's going to end. Well, the TriCaster comes with a variety of production clocks that do exactly that. You'll see the clocks displayed here up in the upper right-hand corner of the main interface, and these clocks are also visible on the multi-viewer, the secondary monitor that can be hooked up for the interface as well. Now, you can configure the clocks by clicking on the gear right next to the main clock, and you have a few options here. The first option is to subtract 12 hours from the current time. So if it's in 24-hour mode or military time, you can turn it back into regular time or military time by subtracting 12 hours from the clock. You also have the ability to have a secondary production clock, and you can turn this clock on and off. You'll see that it disappeared from the interface when I turn these off. But turning this on gives us a countdown clock. Now you have the ability to input a start time of your production and an end time for your production. When this clock is engaged, if it's before the production starts, that clock is a countdown to the start of the production. And if it's after the time that the production is set to start, that clock becomes a countdown to the end of your production.
Bien, chicos, y a ver, eso sería todo. Bueno, este último video 100% relacionado con lo que es la interfase, como han visto, cómo ver lo del tiempo, por ejemplo, cuánto dura una producción, o bueno, ver la hora, por ejemplo, ¿no? Que también es algo que se puede hacer con el Tricaster. Entonces, vamos a dejar de compartir. Listo, chicos, esa ha sido la clase de hoy.